Hey there, single ladies. Okay, I'm so glad to be able to come and talk with you today. Before I get started, I want to share about something new and cool that my husband and I have made for you. It's called 4 Ways to Talk to Men to Get the Relationship That You Want. To check it out, visit singleover30.net/talk. Again, to check out my video, 4 Ways to Talk to Men to Get the Relationship That You Want, check out singleover30.net/talk. So I work with a lot of women, and they're in a stage of life in their late 30s or early 40s where they're starting to grieve being single. Their story hasn't turned out the way that they want, and they're really, really sad about it and broken about it. And I totally get it, because in my 20s, my early 20s, I just knew I was going to get married, and I would know it when I met the one. I just knew that when my guy came along, that I would immediately recognize him, just like the movies, just like my mentor had told me, and just like all of my friends. We were all saying we're just going to know it when our guy comes along. And after all, I'd been praying, I'd been trying to do all the right things to meet a great guy, and I just knew that my love story was going to work out the way that I wanted it to. But then when my 30s rolled around and my guy still hadn't arrived, I thought, well, it can still happen. But then when my 40th birthday came knocking, my tears came too, and I didn't stop crying for a couple weeks. And one day, it like really shocked me that I responded this way. One day I saw a woman at a coffee shop with a baby in a stroller, and I said, hey, can I say hi to your baby? And she said, sure. And when I bent down to say hi to her cutie, tears just started unexpectedly flowing, and I had to run to the bathroom and cry. And grief hit me really hard, and I felt cheated. And I thought, well, why haven't I gotten married like other women that I know? And why hadn't my prayers been answered? And why was I still single? And was I always going to be single? And one morning I went grocery store shopping, and I was passing people as they were coming out of the store and I was going in. And I looked at their left hands to see if they had a wedding band on. And when I saw one, I thought, well, you know, they had someone to hold last night. And I grieved the child that I was never going to hold. I grieved the young marriage that I was never going to have. And my spirit felt really, really crushed. And it was my season of letting go of how I thought that my life was going to turn out. And it really, really hurt a lot. And looking back, I realize now that this painful time of grief was completely necessary. So I had to relinquish my picture of what I thought my life was going to look like, so that I could experience the relational blessing that I now have with my husband, Clark. So maybe you need to hear that my wonderful husband, who I now love and adore, wasn't who I imagined and dreamed of when I thought of walking the aisle, because I wasn't going to marry a man who had already been married. And I thought there was absolutely no way I was going to marry a man who had 5 grown or almost grown kids. And there was no way I was going to be a stepmom, because, you know, I heard all those horrible things about stepmoms. I didn't want to be labeled as one of those. And when I looked at all of this, a guy who had already been married, had kids, and me being in the role of a stepmom, which I now call myself a bonus mom, and I call my husband's kids my bonus kids, because they are. But when I added all of that stuff up, what that looked like for me was a big, huge mess that I didn't want to participate in. And I had waited so long for my dream of marrying to come true that I wasn't going to compromise. I was not going to settle, right? But when my 40th birthday came around, and I didn't settle, and I want to come back to that at the end of what I'm sharing with you. But when my 40th birthday rolled around, and then several birthdays after that, I came face to face with the truth that my story wasn't going to turn out the way that I imagined. And it wasn't going to turn out the way that I dreamed. And if I wanted a relationship, I had to let go of my version of my story so that a brand new story, a different storyline, could be written in my life so that I could experience joy. And in ways I can't even explain, marrying my husband, Clark, has expanded me on the inside. My heart has enlarged. I've become less selfish, even though I have my moments, right? But I've been able to give more. My compassion for others has grown. And I've learned that the things that I thought would make me happy, and all the rules that I created around how I was going to meet my husband, and what he was going to be like, and how my story was going to turn out, weren't what brought me fulfillment at all. And they weren't what would bring me fulfillment. Instead, marriage has taught me to give more of myself to others. And I decided to love my bonus kids, and they're awesome. I decided to love them before I even met them, and I decided to make them a part of my heart just because they're people who deserve to be accepted and loved. So I decided to embrace them as family, and this has given me a lot of joy. There's a whole lot more behind this, how I came to this, but basically the short of it is that I had some experiences prior to meeting my husband that prepared me so that I was ready and I was open. And now as our family grows, as the kids get married and have kids, my love has grown even more. So I'm not saying that your story needs to turn out like mine. I'm not saying that you need to marry a man who's been married before or a man who has kids. What I am saying though is that even though your story has not turned out the way that you imagined, even though it hasn't turned out the way that you want, it can still be amazingly amazing, because it's not relational rules saying it has to be like this and turn out this way. It's not having a great looking guy or the guy without any baggage, because when we get to this age, right, we've all got baggage. Or the guy who's younger than you, or the guy who lives where you want to live, or the guy who's never been attached, that is going to make you happy and fulfilled, or any of the other relational rules that we have. Instead, it's love that will bring happiness into your life and heart. It's knowing that you have a friend who's going to cheer you on and who's going to support you. That's going to bring happiness and fulfillment into your life. It's waking up next to the man who will listen to you, talk about your concerns in the middle of the night. That will bring happiness into your life. It's supporting one another in your dreams. That brings happiness. It's being silly. If that's your personality, which I am like that, it's being silly that brings that kind of fulfillment. And sharing a knowing look. It's feeling like you belong. It's praying together and laughing together and working through troubles together. That brings happiness. It's not all these rules about how we think things should work out. So the other day I told my husband, I said, you know, my marriage to you is the kind of marriage that I always dreamed of. And I meant every single word, not because it's perfect, but because I feel loved and cared for and cherished and protected. And I hope that he feels loved and respected and admired and all that kind of stuff too. All that good juicy stuff that makes a relationship really great. So why am I saying all this to you? I'm saying this to you to encourage you, because maybe you're in a season like I was. You're looking at the left hands of people and you're looking to see if they're married, and you feel left out and you feel cheated and you feel overlooked and you feel ignored, and you're certain, or you're starting to believe, that this dream that you have for love is never ever going to happen for you. So I want to encourage you, it can happen. The dream that you have to love and be loved really, really is possible, and I am living proof of that. So it may just not look exactly like you want it to look. It may not roll out or happen exactly the way you want it to happen, but it doesn't mean it can't be super great. So my encouragement to you is to hold on to your values that make marriage wonderful, like respect, mutual respect, and kindness towards each other, and friendship, and shared values, and someone who loves you and adores you, and you love and adore. I invite you to hold on to all those really great things, because day in, day out, those things are what make a relationship awesome. And I invite you to drop your type, drop your rules, like he has to have a certain kind of job, or live in a certain kind of place, or make a certain amount of money, or like a certain type of music, or like all the same activities as you. I mean, we have to have some compatibility, right? We've got to have some overlap. If this is a person and this is a person, we have to have some overlap in the middle where we share some commonalities, but they don't have to be exactly like you. And they don't have to have everything that you want. In fact, nobody is going to have everything. We're not everything ourselves, right? So drop all this stuff, or maybe drop the idea that he has to have kids, or that he shouldn't have any kids at all, because you never know what kind of amazing man will come into your life and make you fulfilled. And then one day you may find yourself waking up one morning and your husband will say to you, like my husband said to me, do you know that today, 7 years ago today, I took you to that little park in Georgia. It's where I was living at the time, and I got down on my knee and proposed. And then you say, you know, I'm so happy that you asked. Being loved is really, really good. And loving is really good. It's what we have been made for. We've been created for connection and relationship, and it can happen for you too. Remember, the dream that you have to love and be loved is possible. And as a side note, or here at the end, I want to tell you that you're not settling. when you open yourself up and drop a lot of these rules and things that we live by, you're not settling, because you're not going to marry any guy until you feel comfortable, until you feel like you haven't settled, until you feel like you've been blessed in this situation. So opening yourself up just means that you're going to give the opportunity for a different story to be written in your life and for it to unfold in a way that you hadn't imagined before. All right, I hope you have been encouraged. Remember that the dream that you have to love and be loved is possible. And like I mentioned, if you haven't yet, check out that free video that my husband and I made for you called 4 Ways to Talk to Men to Get the Relationship That You Want. It's not about being manipulative, losing your self-respect. It's just about talking to men in the way that they have been created and speaking to their core needs so that you can develop or find a great relationship. Head on over to singleover30.net/talk. Again, that's singleover30.net/talk to check out the video. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.